Hello.
Welcome to another episode of
The Gabfest. Hey, we're back.
Thank you so much for joining us today for yet another episode of the Gabfest. As you know, we are always excited to be here, always excited to see each other. We haven't seen Cleo in 10 years,
No.
Welcome back,
I
stranger.
feel so happy to be here.
Yes.
so
It's
good
been
to
like a
have you.
month.
Yeah, it's been a while. But
Yeah,
you're not
man.
complaining. Work has been good.
Yeah, adulting 101.
Adulting
Yeah, no, it's been
101.
really good. It's picking up now. And yeah, it's been like banquet season. So
It's good season.
And wedding season and,
and
everything is
weddings, yeah.
just...
But I'm happy to be back, man.
We're
good
happy
have
to
you
have
back.
you back.
I'm
It's good to
interested
have
in
you
this
back.
topic.
You're interested in the topic,
Yeah.
huh? Hello, Lorraine is already saying hello. Hi, girl. Anks, how are you doing?
I've been great. It's been a...
How are you doing?
Explain.
It's Wendy. What?
How you doing?
It
It took me a minute. It took me a minute. No, I'm super excited because I had good things happen this week and there's a good weekend ahead. So for me, like life is looking up finally, like in terms of it's moving towards the end of the year. We're going into silly season, so I'm a happy person. I'm really happy
Who you
person.
going to be
Silly
silly
season.
with? Is this going to be covered on the podcast today?
What's this now?
Who are you going to be silly with? Is this going to be covered on the podcast today?
Me, I only have one partner in crime. We know this, guys. We know this.
So, hold on. Sorry. I am just trying to see. Is yours working?
Yes.
Okay, mine's not working, but I'll try and see now. So today on the show we have. You might have seen on the poster Jessie's supposed to be here, but unfortunately she got a last-minute call last night for work, and you know with work
We're here for a hustle.
we
are
all here for the hustle.
Yeah, we've moved into
Yeah.
the hood, guys. Adulthood.
Adulthood. So, but today we are excited to have our guest co-host today,
Woo, woo, woo.
and it is Adi. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Giving us a drum roll first.
Oh, come on. That would be good. So, hey guys, I'm Adi. I just belong to these cool chicks group of friends, and yeah, I'm just here I'm here for the girl chat. I'm here for the change. I'm here for talking about uncomfortable topics that you and I both know are not being discussed. Girls, it's time.
Yeah. So
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
we are busy with the series Love, Marriage, Divorce. If you have been following it, the conversations has been hot. People have been giving us a say. We are shocked at the amount of men that is tuning
Yes,
in
there's
and
a lot,
being,
eh?
giving
So they wanna
advice
learn.
as well. No, they're giving
Giving
like
advice.
So there
Wow.
was one show that was it the dating show
It was a
where
dating
the
show.
single girls was asking questions and they like don't answer that, it's a trap, and they were like giving in.
It was a
all
good
their-
conversation of
it was
input,
really
yeah.
nice, yeah. And we are continuing with the Love, Marriage, Divorce segment. And I do know last week we did say that today will be divorce. But we are going to add a second part of the marriage section, which leads up to considering divorce, in terms of what is the thing that makes you feel like I don't know if I want to carry on, and then how do you push through to get to the point of saying, okay, let's try this one more time, or what did you set, the goals you set before your marriage, and certain kind of things. So we're just going to get into the topic, right? So next week with our divorce segment, we will have two ladies here that will share not their problems in marriage, but they're more going to share how to pick yourself up basically after a divorce. So we don't really try to promote divorce, but
Life happens.
happens. Thank you for the clean version. It happens. So when it does happen, how do you get up? They're going to share how they got up from that experience and how they moved forward and where they find themselves now. So jumping into the whole marriage topic. So last week we spoke all the funny stuff, eh? We spoke about the shaving down there. Does your husband like it clean, dirty? Not dirty, dirty is the wrong word.
Coarse,
But
very
according to
coarse.
Lorraine, it's dirty if it's not clean down there. So
Very Amazon territory, that,
Amazon territory, yeah.
Yeah, El
Jane
Natural.
when do you get comfortable and you don't clean anymore, even shaving under the arms, we got into all the nitty-gritties after marriage, how you get comfortable in certain things. And this week we're going to be discussing, like I said, certain things about, how to pick yourself up, basically, after a divorce. So, we are continuing with the Love, Marriage, Divorce segment, which leads up to considering divorce. And we are going to add a second part of the marriage section, which leads up to considering divorce. So, when it does happen, how do you push through to get to the point of saying, okay, let's try this one more time, or, in your marriage, sometimes you think the first year is great and then second year pictures up and things change, or vice versa. You think it's terrible and then next minute things change. For me personally, it was things is great until I got kids. Kids changed the game for me in terms of, but I also think it's obviously our situation with our child that turned into, and that's also something I wanted to speak about. Do you ever watch series, okay, you obviously do, but these series when there's a child got kidnapped, a child is murdered, those kind of things, and you always think to yourself, how do the parents always split? Because they always split. It's never that you hear 10 years later the couple is still happy married. They always split up. And I found that I understand in a sense that when you do have a child that is more on it's not just you wake up and do normal kids things, there's extra work added to it, that it does put a strain on your relationship a lot. I can only imagine if something must happen to your child in a place where it's void. Like, where are you? Still trying to find my child, all those kind of things. What's your take on on that? Why do you think it is that marriages don't last when something happens with kids?
I can jump in. Hey, watching these movies, it's like both husband and wife, or mom and dad in the situation, they want to look to each other for strength and for healing and for guidance and for how do we do this. But they forget that each other is still broken and they must still come to terms with what is going on in healing. And it doesn't have to be death or bereavement. It could be, like you said, it could be health circumstances. It could be finances. It could be anything that is pressuring the home. I'm looking to you, you're looking to me, but we're both stuck in this mud together.
And I want your comfort, but forgetting that I need to comfort you as well.
That is where, sorry if I can just say, we have to also then look at the word codependency. Why do we have to do everything together? Why do we have to rely on one another? For everything, we have to remember, look to our source and all the like. But sorry.
Well, another thing is also that we need to remember that a lot of, in those situations, people forget that they're on the same team. So it's a matter of when, let's say in a child kidnapping or something, then it subtly comes through, but then you start blaming each other. Why didn't you lock the doors? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So there's a blame game kind of thing. It's like, but this is not something anyone anticipates, whether it be the death of a child or even in sickness, but you were carrying the child. Couldn't you make sure that you had the right vitamins and stuff like that? It becomes that subtle thing. So some people don't outright say,
why did you eat?
Yeah, why did you eat? It becomes that. And now you guys are versing each other instead of being on the same team and saying, okay, fine, how can we support each other? Because the reality of the matter is we are in marriage, you're going to have to support each other. Also, having what you said, there needs to be balance. So if there's too much of that dependency on each other, then you also have that situation where you now fight. But I'm also going through something.
You don't have anything to say? You have something to say?
For me, I'm interested to know, once you guys are married, if you are an individual that isolates when you are going through things, is that a switch that goes off, or how do you over time start to turn to your partner instead of isolating? Is that something that you have to work out before marriage?
Not before marriage, but it's not going to
in
come.
marriage,
It's going to be. It's with time, because remember, that's your personality. You're not going to just switch when you get married.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to actively make decisions to work on it, because you can't isolate in marriage, because that creates other communication issues. And now it's but why am I here if you're isolating yourself? Why are we in this together? Are we not a team? So you're going to have to work on that one. Yeah, you're going to have to work on that one.
Yeah, so going on an experience based, obviously, if you know my story, I have a daughter that got deaf through a virus, right? And for me, I found that exactly what you're saying, but also in terms of thinking about the next person. With me, one of our problems came in terms of where we were both, like you say, you're both sitting with the situation, and it's two different personalities. So for my husband, it was the man must be strong, can't cry in front of my wife. I need to be able to deal with this. I need to be her support and whatnot. But then what started happening was I constantly felt like he's got this.
Yeah.
How come he's not feeling any emotion towards this? How come all those kind of things? And I got used to the fact you always asking me, how you feeling today, how you managing today. And I never took the time to actually ask it back. And that's also something that you need to learn. But it also comes, I feel like, I don't want to say that when we tell men don't cry, and we tell men, if you do cry, go cry alone, don't let anybody see you cry. It also comes from that aspect where a woman thinks men are supposed to be so strong and tough, that you forget that there is a emotional aspect, and they have feelings, but because they're playing tough, I need to keep the family together and not add the pressure. You think, okay, they're okay, so just,
and just to touch on the communication thing, if you don't work on communicating what is going on in your mind, your body, your thoughts, your whatever, if you don't communicate it, you have yourself to blame, because you know they can't read you right. You know that even if you are crying, they can't tell what's wrong.
Yeah.
So you really need to say it so that they can say, okay,
we can, even if you tell them, they still don't really
know.
understand. But anyway,
So you can now say, okay, at least I said, right? So now we can work from a place. How do we navigate or solve whatever it is that you're going through? Okay, you need 3 hours alone, sure. You want to go stay over your mom's for the night or whatever. You can then move forward with the plan of healing, right?
Yeah,
So
just as long as you guys
communicate
are like always on the same page.
You will not be always on the same page. That is.
I was about to say that always is a
Sorry,
bit
who
hectic.
said that? Where's that, Granny? Where's that?
Guys, people need to rewrite these marriage books then,
So-
because
So whatever. Well, if
I
you're
promise
planning
you,
on getting,
men wrote it.
And also, have you noticed many of the times it's single people?
That's right,
we
as
actually
well.
we actually have a book. It's brilliant. We read it, and really, if it comes back to counseling, you go back to that book. It was
Yeah.
a married man. It's Edgar. Blah, blah, blah. It's called Love and Respect.
love and respect.
So it's basically
Doesn't it come with DVDs, CDs as well?
no, it doesn't come with DVDs. Maybe there's a package, but we only got the book, so you read it. But what it basically essentially says is it helps women and men communicate to sort of have a pathway to understand each other, where men read respect, but in what way do they read respect? Women read love, but speak love, but how do they
Okay.
How
speak
do you
love?
say that?
So then it creates that, because even for us in our marriage in the past 2 weeks, it has been lit in the house. So, and it all just boiled down to me feeling unloved and him feeling
Yeah.
disrespected. So it's, so we had to get to the point where we're like, okay, come
What's
back
the
to the
middle
drawing
ground, yeah.
come back to the drawing board and say, okay, fine, but you keep doing these things that make me feel unloved. Oh, but you keep saying these things that make me feel disrespected. And we had a situation where Xavier broke his phone, but the man went dead quiet. Right, he went quiet, like he isolates because he's trying to process. And in my mind, I'm thinking something is horribly wrong. Did I do something wrong? I'm feeling alone. Yeah, I'm feeling like, no, this man is about to walk out. It's not a phone wat gebreek het. It's just the phone. But do you get what I'm saying? But that communication was so important to say, okay, look, baby, I'm just processing this right now. You know that my phone is my work, my everything, and we need to find a way to get something different. But just the element of communication,
communication.
to
Yeah.
get that across.
But then you see what happens is, so now you communicate the story, but now your partner, if you are with somebody that is unable to take themselves out of their perspective to see what you are going through, that is then when you cannot progress to the next level, right, of healing or the solution based. So again, coming back to, I think we were speaking about it earlier, when you marry someone or you date someone that you have a lot of mutual interest in. We were speaking about it earlier. Finding people that you are on the same, equally yoked, being equally yoked, sorry. We were speaking about that earlier on. So, really getting to know your person first is so important. Then you're on the right page. You're working with someone that can work with you, not go against the tide. And then your
And that
communication
is a big thing, the communication in terms of how I read your communication and my thought still being, but my thought is the right way.
And then it
Yeah.
stems back to how we were raised, and that again, the unequally yoked thing. Let us find a place where we can start life together. Not you here, I'm there, you there, I'm there. Let's start this thing on the same road, looking in the same direction with the same belief systems. It's important.
Also, what's important is what you find is when you're in the dating phase, you start creating a certain culture for the two of you. And it's very important to know that that person comes from that culture and from that home, and you come from a different place where you were differently raised. But when you come into one space, you need to create your own culture.
Yeah.
So, like
a joint culture.
Yeah. And you guys need to protect each other. That's very important. So
Yeah.
remember, there's always going to be in-laws, there's always going to be other people, there's always going to be a friend, there's always going to be something. But you need to protect each other to understand that you're going to get your communication going between the two of us. Because if some third party says something, now you soma. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now the communication's out the line because that third party said something. But it's important to protect each other in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted
get
to
that.
jump on the equally yoked thing that you were saying we were discussing about as discussing earlier as well. So basically, also there's also the issue of where you are a church girl. Like for me, I grew up in church. I know all my church, what do you call it? Your verses, not the verses,
Your
the Bible
scriptures.
stories.
Oh,
You know, you
okay.
Sunday school, you learn, like if you're enough years of
Parables.
Sunday school, you know all the parables on the earth. So when people speak about certain things, you kind of know, but that's based on growing up in it. So now what happens is you grow up and you meet somebody and it's the love of your life. But the love of your life did go to church as well, but went only Easter, Christmas,
Every other day.
Mother's Day, Father's Day. That somewhat, when you become married, becomes a unequally yoked marriage, if that makes sense. So what happens is now, I want to bring my kids up in a church environment. We go to church, we do this, we do that, we do that. And you don't see that that's important. Like it can be with any other religion as well. I have a very good friend who's obviously she's in her 60s, but she's Christian and her husband is full on Muslim, and they got married like that. She goes to church every Sunday and he does his mosque every Friday. But they have an agreement. But is that actually equally yoked? What's your take on that, guys?
I think it will. Okay, after you, babe.
Go.
Well, I was just gonna say, but remember, I'm the unmarried one, yeah.
Yeah, but you can just.
I feel like when you meet someone, you come as an individual. And as much as you have to grow together to be this union eventually, I feel like if you have your own beliefs and you don't want to mesh that together and you don't have kids, then it's less complicated. But I feel like it's okay to just hold on to your own individual path as long as it's not separating you guys as a couple. That's just my opinion.
It's your opinion. Okay, let's hear Anka's opinion.
Very difficult. Being in marriage, good luck with that. Because the reality of the matter is, you find that even when you're in church, even when you grow up together, in terms of in church and you understand the dynamics, you can also be unequally yoked. Yes. You guys need to be so aligned, because marriage is, like, for me, marriage is the equivalent is the separation between heaven and hell, because it can bring so much stress. There's already so many complications, and adding on to that. So if there's kids before marriage, when kids come in marriage, now there's a whole belief system, there's friends, there's so many dynamics, because marriage is already hard. So you're just going down an easier path to make sure that, okay, fine, we understand.
More consistency.
There's more consistency, especially when it comes to the kids, because you confuse the hell out of the kids when there's just two different paths.
And I go back to my everyday, like I say, if your morals and your values are not aligned, where do your morals and your values come from? It comes from what you believe in. So if you believe in Christ, you know what the morals and values the Bible tells you to follow. If you are Muslim, you know what morals and values the Quran. Do you get what I'm
But
trying
isn't
to
it
say?
all similar? Like, no matter the religion.
Fundamentally, no.
Yeah.
There are similarities, but look, we're not negating for the rarities that there are. There are people that made it work, but if you go speak to them, they will tell you of the immense difficulties. And I don't think it's in everyone's makeup to want to work through it. Some people, we live in a generation where checkout is easy. We live in a generation where if it's broken, you throw it away. You don't fix it, you
Yeah.
buy another one. So maybe back then, but you want to say something?
Oh no, I was going to say this is so interesting for me because my mom is Muslim. Well, not practicing Muslim anymore, but she grew up Muslim in a Muslim household, and my dad is Christian. So I grew up. They were never married. So I grew up going to church on a Sunday, and I went to mosque or madrasa, whatever, on ad hoc times with my other cousins.
That's
or
cool.
whatever. And I grew up like a really mixed fruit bowl. And then I traveled a little bit. So I left my close-knit community of what is right and what is wrong. I left, and my brain opened up, my mind opened up, and coming back to that, onto what Anka said about you can both be Christian and not equally yoked. And also what you mentioned about how we were raised. My husband came from a Christian home, same like you. Parents. hectic.
We're not
Parents,
staunch. Let me just put that out
Yeah,
there.
they're actually
Yeah,
quite.
there's a
quite
big
lekker.
difference. Yeah.
No, but our how do I say this? Very I don't want to say indoctrinated. That's not the word. There were a lot of rules, and grew up the elderly, more old school way of Christianity, I guess, where they're not allowed to be around people that drink or anything like that, because you're part of the first family. You stay away from those kinds of things, right? So he grew up like that. I grew up going to church, loving Jesus. I was in the Methodist church with my granny. I went to Rhema. I did all the, I lived a little bit. And I can tell you now that Christian and Christian, it's still not equal. It's still not enough, because I'm open about certain things. Perhaps he's struggling to be open because he's so set in his principled ways, you know, which I understand. And so then again, here we are, and where I see unequally, I'm looking at things like, hey, I love animals, you don't. You used to love animals, but now that when the dog is sick, you can't clean the dog. It's not a problem, okay? We have our roles in the home and everything, and it works. But at the end of the day, now you don't like the dog anymore, but you said you did in the beginning. This is just a stupid example.
Yeah.
This is where what is equal for me or not. Do you like the same things? You know, are we on the same path about that? Fun things, for example, do you like going out? Do you like staying indoors? That for me is what I see as equally yoked now. No longer the religion
Yeah,
aspect.
so that's
to
where
it.
I was about to go to just now when I was explaining about the values and the morals.
Exactly.
And then
It's
I was
just the
about to go on to
principles.
say about the, what do you believe in and why it has to be equally yoked is because even with not having kids, if I believe or my values is like, before you go to bed, we sort out the problem, and yours is not, I can guarantee you that the fight is going to continue because one of you believe that it shouldn't be that way.
And both of you are right.
And both of you are right. And even so, I want to bring in the aspect of unequally yoked in terms of your upbringing as well. So for me personally, nothing against my in-laws or my husband or anything, but in terms of how we grew up, I grew up in a home where my parents are together and they're still together 38 years later.
Yeah.
And they were each other's first boyfriends and girlfriends, and they're still together and they make it work. They don't fight in front of us. There's certain things that they do. We grew up never ever hearing my parents fight before. We grew up never hearing a disagreement. You grew up in certain things where you get married and you also want that kind of lifestyle for your kids to have. Because,
Absolutely.
the princesses, they have the whole thing. But for me, that's another story where don't let the guy hate you first and then you feel like he's going to love you afterwards, because I feel like that's what a lot of love stories on TV and movies and Disney predict. They predict that, well, not predict, but you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
what you're
But they give this whole, the guy's going to hate you first and you need to fight for the love, and
Because
then Prince Charming comes.
Yeah, because he hates you or whatever.
He'll now fall in love, and then the love is so much greater and more passionate because that happens. Where that's
Absence
not
makes the
true.
heart grow fonder.
Yeah, and then
It's so toxic.
then I married somebody whose parents has never been married. Now being together, you sit with the issue of what is family to me and what family means to you. Why do I
Quality
have to
time.
tell you where I am versus we always pop in? Do you see what I'm trying to say with the
Yes.
different upbringing, which is also unequally yoked.
Yes.
And it's difficult, but it is difficult, but it's not impossible
It's
to
workable.
get it to the right place. That's when it comes in with what you were saying. You create your own culture as a family and you start building on things. This is what I want. And that's why before marriage, it's important. You say, this is my goals, this is my values, this is, even if you must put your contract, like Anka likes to say, together. And when you go into marriage, you can't say, I didn't know that's what you expected from me. Because now we're first speaking about where we want to go. And yes, it's not going to be the same. You could want to have, we're wearing black every Friday, it's in our contractual agreement, kind of a thing. And 5 years later, you decide, I'm sick of black. But then that comes back to, we come back together, let's discuss what is it. This is how I feel, but I feel we should still wear black.
Yeah.
Why do you feel we shouldn't wear black anymore? And that's how you get to your agreement.
And on the topic of the children, because the differences bob its head up now when the kids come, like, for example, birthday parties. One's family, there are drinkers in one family and there are not non-drinkers in the other.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know, I can't exclude my family because they're drinkers, and I'm not going to. Why should I? Just because we have a Bible next to our bed, it doesn't add up. So when they are all, like my mom couldn't stay in our house because she wasn't married, but she's my mom. I can't tell her to not come. So when it comes to like family and how it translates into the rest of the household, parenting plans.
Was that really a thing?
Yeah.
Your mother couldn't come?
No, not couldn't come. It was my wedding, and we were living in the home that my in-laws had purchased for us, which was supposed to be ours. And then my mum was supposed to come and stay at the wedding, but the question was asked, is she staying here with her boyfriend because she's not married? But it's my mum. I can't tell my mum, hey, hang on a second.
You can't be here.
You can't be here because are you going to let sin into my home? I know. So, and even with the kids, like now the birthday party, there's alcohol there, yes, but it is my family, and I'm not excluding my family. We are all family. So when it comes to opening up the conversation of understanding and being on the same page when you start, then these things, when it comes to children, parenting plans, I've only just learned are so important, so that mum and dad can have something on paper to say, we agree that we are going this way. We talk about it. Are you spanking? No. Am I spanking? No. You're going to be the disciplinarian? Are we feeding our kids sweets, chocolates, Coke? No. Okay, cool. We are. Okay, when? All of that.
Yeah.
Schooling. I'm of the belief now. I'm all like, I want to homeschool my kids. I want them to be barefoot running around in nature. Perhaps, and it's not this case, my husband's totally supportive of it, but perhaps in another, the dad might want a structural school, or do you know what I mean? This is
So, if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is that a parenting plan is almost like study notes instead of winging it.
No,
Just
it has to be study notes because it gets personal. This is your child that you
Yeah.
birth. You want the
I
best
love
for
that.
them, right? And nothing must come in the way of that. Sorry, babes.
Some of it will be
Winging. I guess, yes.
There's not a like a,
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to
cutthroat.
happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
even in your own life.
What you
I
happening
don't have
in
a
the kids'
plan,
life.
but I want one. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I've got it under control because I don't, but I want one.
And what you'll find is that every child is different, which is why there's no solid parenting book. There's no actual book that can teach you how to parent. I mean, the way I raised Ava is completely different from what I'm raising Taya, because
So
Taya
true.
gets to the inner gangster.
Is that the second one?
Jurassic
I always
Park.
say the second one
Yeah.
tests you.
Gets to the inner gangster. So, and I can't, the way I discipline Ava, I can't discipline Taya.
Absolutely.
There's no way. It's two different children, two different personalities.
Yeah.
Now, what happens now it's me and Xavier. I believe in hidings. Like, I believe in
Don't
it.
waste
Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's me, right? I'm not saying abuse the child. I'm saying discipline the child. Xavier believes in that too, but Xavier will wait, and he'll wait
Until you do something.
and he'll wait. Given if Xavier gets upset, it's really because he's upset, because he doesn't want to go smack the child around every
Unnecessarily.
corner and unnecessarily, which in our world is abuse. But he'll wait and wait till the point where it's like, no, the child is getting out of hand. Just 2 smacks and she must understand that this is wrong or that, right? That's what we've agreed, but we've agreed prior to that. Then there's some days.
Now my mind changed since the day we spoke about it.
You see,
Yeah, they
you see,
might.
that's what I wanted to say. Like what Randy just alluded to just now. I think it's a matter of, remember, the person you married or the person you dated is not the same person a couple of years
Because
down
you're
the
always
line.
evolving.
Always changing. You're always evolving. There's new experiences added to who you are as a person and your character. But it's always important to come back and say, okay, fine. You know what, maybe I think we did say that, but I feel about this. What do you think? You know, and then speak it through and do it with understanding. Not I want this now
Yeah.
because.
Yeah.
So that's how then you explain why is it
Yes.
that you wanted to change, and then we come to an agreement, because then if I wanted to change, you might bring up a point where I'm like, oh, that actually makes more sense. Let's stick to what we agreed on. And then I wanted to bring up the issue of either outside influences, right? So outside influences, it could be friends, it could be in-laws, it could be family, your favorite cousin, his best friend, those kind of things. And then the factor of maybe your husband or maybe even you, where they don't stick up for you the way you expect them to stick up for you. Because based on research, that is one of the main things why people actually get divorced. People get divorced because you don't have my back when we're in a room of people.
Not in the same team.
Or we say agree to something at home, but the minute we leave the house, you jump back to
You change your mind.
whoever else says whatever else.
You never really meant it to begin with, man.
Yeah, it was like, let's keep the peace now, and we just agree to it
We'll
now,
deal
and
with
then
this later.
we'll deal with it
Deal
later.
with it later.
So and when the
yes,
hits
yeah.
the fan, it's
and then
trouble.
it's trouble. So based on examples that I could use based on the research, it was obviously the in-laws was the massive thing, and it mostly came from the woman's perspective, where the man is a mommy's girl. We touched a bit on it last week, where not the mommy's girl, mommy's boy, where the man is a bit of a mommy's boy. At home, we agree to something, and then when the parents say this way or that way, it's
that happens everywhere in the world.
set. And so that is a thing. There was also situations though where there's a daddy's girl, as where the woman disrespects her husband and whatever
Yes,
her
that is
dad
very real.
says goes.
Yeah, that's also very prevalent.
And then there was the issue of the guy best friend, in terms of they don't understand now you're a married man. You can
boundaries.
still have your space, but boundaries. You can't just walk in whenever you want to walk in. And then we agree at home, okay, we're spending Fridays together. You can be with your guys on a Sunday, and weekend comes and the guy
third wheel
pitches
rolls
up.
in.
Yeah. And now you're going everywhere with the third wheel. So that was one of the main things that came up. There was even issues where the girl's best friend kind of makes her like the second wife.
Or
In
sister.
terms of, kind of, or
Explain.
sister, as in where it's the hanging on, you know, it's a perfect
come
example.
with.
Perfect example, sorry to use the Kardashians again, but their relationship with their partners, their sisters' partners, I feel is very inappropriate and disrespectful for the sister themselves that's in a relationship. Like, for example, with Scott, using an example, you know, how Chloe would hang on Scott the whole time, kiss him if she wants to, you know, those kind of boundaries. That's the boundaries we're speaking about, when you become brotherly, using it as an excuse, but it kind of looks
It's still
flirtatious.
physical. Yeah, no, I'm not.
So your take on that, ladies? Why do you think it's such an issue? Why would it be something that could bring up the word divorce?
So the conversation that you started off with in saying it makes you, like, how do I say this? You have your outside influences, but then you go home and you say, hey, but we spoke about this or whatever. The need for protection, that was what it was, sorry, the need for protection. So I struggled with that actually all my life. The need to want to be protected, the need to
Same.
have my back, and why are you leaving me in a room like that, to be like, you know, scorned on or torn apart emotionally, physically, doesn't matter. I always had that. And I was, as I'm working through my stuff, I'm learning that, you know, it's got to do with that whole vulnerability, rejection thing that I faced maybe as a child. So I hear you. I'm going through that also, where I'm like, please. But then, you know, I ended up having to, because I forced myself to embrace my masculinity at this stage, because I will protect myself now. It's cool. If I want to stay on my grounded on my 2 feet, if I want my kids to see a stable mother, a stable home, if you're not going to protect me, okay, I'm going to protect myself. So I had to start putting measures in place and
Sorry, can I ask a
boundaries.
question?
Yeah, sure.
So, based on you saying that now, does it get to a point where, you know, with women, we always speak on the show about when a woman leaves a relationship, right? She made up her mind quite some
Right.
time ago.
Yeah.
She was just
Absolutely.
staying to see the vibe, or literally it's a comfort
Waiting for you
thing.
to
or
Separating
change your-
emotionally.
you separate
first.
yourself emotionally before the
Wow,
actual
guys, that's
breakup.
so deep, eh?
We always speak about that on the show. And I wanted to ask you, if somebody doesn't protect you in the way you want to be protected, does it somewhat take the sense of, oh, I think this man is handsome? Because, you know, you think your husband or your partner is the most handsome thing
So
on
my
earth.
dad is a manly man. He's like, he's got tattoos
Robust.
and he does things with his hands and whatever. So I saw that as what a man is, right? And I've since come to understand men can be emotional, men can have big, high IQ and be really soft-natured if they want to. Sorry, can I take this off for a second?
Yeah.
Oh.
No
Sorry,
problem.
guys. They can be soft-natured if they want to, but if I'm not feeling safe, I'm obviously as a woman going to feel even more vulnerable and exposed.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as some women run, some women flee, some fight, fight or flight. I chose in my circumstances to, like, put on my big old panties, fix my crown, and get,
I think-
keep going. Like, protect myself because you have
Yes.
to. And my dad always raised me as a warrior princess. He always told me that. And I now always tell my daughter, you can do anything the boys, you don't be scared. No one's going to
Yeah.
intimidate you.
Yeah.
You got this. And I think we just have to change the cycle in the dynamic of being the girly girl, because I was a wifey wife and I was a womany woman and,
Yeah.
honey, and everything. Now I'm just like, hey. Now I'm stepping into my confidence because I never knew I had it all the years. And that's why I felt I need to be protected. Now I just put up my own boundaries, and that's that. You're in it, you're not.
But what I'm trying to ask, okay, you can jump onto it as well, and then someone go on to what you were about to say to AD now, is that do you then feel, because you can put on your big girl panties, but then you're just sleeping in the same room, and it comes to what we were speaking about last week, the friend zone marriage, where we're friends, we're just sleeping in the same room, but there's no actual attraction.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that happened to me.
you want to say before I
No,
go?
you can start.
Okay. So me and Xavier had this conversation this morning, and he's like, yeah, we always have this conversation going, and he's like, no, men grieve longer than women, and men take it harder than women because women just cut it off and go. And I'm like, no, that's not what happens. What happens is women check out emotionally earlier, like much earlier, and by the time they say no, like I'm done with this, it's because they've already processed it. So what happens is, so he's like, oh, okay, so because you've already processed it, now his punishment is divorce or whatever. I'm like, no, that's not what happens. We tell you how we're feeling in whichever means we can. We tell you, this that you're doing here is making me feel unloved. This that you're doing here is making me feel unhappy. And then there comes a time when we were like, oh, okay, there's nothing that I can really do. And you let it slide, you let it slide. It was like, oh, maybe there's
Because you
nothing
get tired of saying the same
you
thing.
get tired.
Yeah.
And you
But
feel there's no point.
there's no point. So what we do is we grow a callus. Because now...
But that's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Now you put on the big girl panties.
Yeah. Now you grow a callus. But remember, you already switching off because that's making you feel unloved.
Yeah.
So now because of that action... And he keeps on doing it. So I say to him, but what happens is men don't deal with it because they feel like I didn't mean it that way.
Yes.
So I said, it doesn't mean because you don't mean it that it doesn't have an adverse
Yeah.
effect. So what you now need to do is change it. Consciously change it, because now once we've grown the callus, it's done for. Now we check out, because now it's like, yeah, but is that my punishment? Now it's divorce. No, it's not your punishment. You haven't given a reason to say that you will change it.
You
We've
haven't
been
showed
asking.
me you're gonna.
Yeah,
You're gonna
and the thing about
Yeah.
a woman is we give 150,000 chances
Yes,
for you.
listen.
So can I
do
tell
that.
you how deep this goes, this over-explaining thing? You explain and you explain and you explain to the point where I now will put my hand up and say, I have got like a trigger response now. I cannot even talk to people because I'm so tired of talking and explaining that I actually have a bit of a wall. When someone asks me a question, if I don't say that, then I'll say it's that because it has all these things on it, and if you go round and round because and I start rambling, and it's become a trauma response, and I'm working so hard to just be, but my mouth just rambles because I'm waiting for to come out, and then I have to go, no, you don't understand, and then it
then
gets
all
like
over
that,
again.
and when it comes to the point, and this is where it is, girls, is for me, is if you're setting yourself alight to keep anybody else warm, children, husband, in-laws, your parents, boss, whoever, if you're setting yourself up, no, if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive.
Too expensive.
Too expensive.
But in a situation, in a situation like that, and this is what we always say, and I always say this in all our shows, is that it's important to go for counseling, because we come back to the point where we know
Sure.
that men and women don't speak the same language,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
like I'll sit there and I'm like, I've been telling this man for the past 5 weeks the same thing, but just because we're sitting here and he's relaying it as a man, but they understand each other because they speak the same language. So it's so important that there'll come a time when there's a big hiccup, and there'll come a time, and I keep on saying this to Xavier, that we grow calluses because we get tired of keep on saying this. Why don't you understand? How is your skull that thick that you don't understand? And you forget in that moment of frustration that you don't speak the same language, even though you've been
And
saying
then
something.
enters the sister wife, or then enters the best friend that becomes a third wheel, or then enters because
That wants
you
to
are,
act like the therapist first of all.
no, but you're looking to someone else to explain what you look to someone else eventually. I'm not talking about another relationship. Like
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
start
but
looking
you're
for advice
to-
somewhere else.
Yes, and you start reaching out and can you try, and then other people start giving their opinions, which is not always healthy, obviously, you can't listen to the whole
Definitely,
world.
yeah.
And you sometimes talk to people that don't really have your best interest at heart. But that's what ends up happening.
It's a result.
Yeah.
Claire, you wanted to say something just now. Do you want to jump onto it when we were speaking about when you basically
Big old panties or something.
Oh yeah, so it was what Eddie was saying about masculine energy, and I feel like what happened to me was I was in a relationship with someone who wasn't the typical manly man, and I feel like going through that forced me to come more into my masculine, and then there was this huge imbalance
Yes,
because
power struggle.
Yes, and at the end of the day, I feel like what I've learned is that you can be masculine, but there must be a balance. Because at the end of the day, we're still women, and we're still very nurturing and loving. And I feel like when you're with somebody that forces you to be in your masculine, it just brings you to a place where you feel like you don't actually need this person anymore. And
They
all this
become
resentment starts to,
indispensable.
yes, exactly.
So that's exactly the point that I was bringing when I was asking. So, do you then feel resentment towards the person because if I feel like you're not protecting me anymore,
Yes.
I'm no longer gonna when you walk past say, "Oh, this man is fine."
Because the thing is-
now you start losing respect for the person, and when you
Yeah.
lose respect for your partner,
They're no longer
they're not
safe space.
attractive anymore. You don't need that confidence booster from them anymore. You don't need any of those things.
And when you, sorry, just quickly, when you lose respect, then you lose the love as well.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
you do.
And the thing is, we're not saying protect us. Like, we can protect ourselves, but if we need you, be there and do it properly.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Angst to read quickly, not the hellos, just the comments.
Hellos. Then we've got Lady J. True relationships are not easy. We guaranteed to go through good times, bad times, ups, downs, happy, sad. It's how we respond to it all as individuals and a couple. And then she says, great show. Then also Lorraine says, if you don't protect your partner, you allow people to always disrespect your partner. Hence, people, for example, can pop in whenever they want to, or even speak to your partner in any way. Even overlook looking your partner when plans are made with family and friends because you didn't put the boundary there for protection.
True
Of protection.
story. You're like
Yeah.
amening here all the way.
Points.
Yeah. It is. I think it's important to speak about certain things. I mean, I was, in the beginning when I came into the relationship, I was like, Xavier's always got his factory people over. There was always people at the house. And I was okay with that. And then the first child came and I was a gremlin of note.
You're like, I need space.
Yeah, and I told them, get out. Like, I need
And
space.
also, you get to the point where you don't for everybody else.
Yeah.
And in your free time, help me with the kids.
Yeah, like seriously, like I'm going insane. I didn't have sleep post. Like thinking about it now, you think maybe I did have postpartum depression because like what happened there was some serious stuff.
Looking
that went
back
down.
and
Like, looking
reflecting.
back.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
Okay, so,
So-
one of the go ahead.
I just have a quick question. Like you were saying how eventually like you'll lose respect and you don't see your partner as attractive. Like, like some people label that as the ick. Like we're just like,
yeah.
is
Just-
there,
you
like, can
grossed
you come
out.
back from that?
Goosebumps.
There's no coming back.
So
Once
I'm-
you see, sorry, I was going to say,
Yeah.
once you see something, you generally can't unsee it.
So next week there is going to be someone on the show as well who actually forgave her husband after a few things, and that's one of the questions that's going to come up in terms of how did you get past the point of you don't eke me, or
Yeah.
did it ever eke
Well,
you,
I suppose
or
if,
something
if,
like that?
if the spouse ends up doing what they said they're going to do, then yes, you're like, oh wow, yeah, he's doing the things or whatever, she's doing the things. Okay, I can work with this. Maybe it's not so
Yeah.
bad. But if
I think
it's
also it's a matter of what eked
and
you.
also if it's your 10th or 12th or 15th or 35th time saying, okay, maybe this time.
Yeah, but I also feel like maybe the other
Each
thing is like,
situation's individual, I suppose.
yeah, I would feel like if they change and they can do it right 10 times, but that one time that they get
No,
it
give
wrong,
them
then you're like,
grace. Oh no, give them grace. You know what? We're all
We're all
human.
human, yeah.
And we have all gone through such a hectic life shift in the past 2 or 3 years. I'm not even speaking about our childhoods or anything like that. I'm
Yeah.
literally just talking about
surface level
No,
stuff.
surface level
Yeah.
stuff. We've all gone through so much. I think we are all starting to navigate our traumas and deal with who we are as people because
we were forced to be alone. Yeah.
yes.
So this is a big thing that also came up, social media, right?
Okay.
You have there's many talks, if you YouTube as well, there's many people making money off this as counselors as
Yeah.
well, and those kind of things. What is your guys' take in marriage? You can say what you expect in marriage. when it comes to social media, the kind of people you follow, the kind of people you're DMing, the kind of people, am I allowed to see, am I not allowed to see? What do you think, why social media is such a big thing when it could come to, I don't know if I want to be in this anymore?
I think that's a very slippery slope because there's so many like devils there online.
But there's also devils like come
But
to your
they're
bride
everywhere.
on Sunday.
Yeah,
True.
but I
Yeah.
feel like there's devils everywhere. But I feel like social media has opened a bigger
Yes.
space
for learning.
for not only
For
learning,
me it was learning,
a bigger space for
Trouble.
so in terms of
playground,
now I can
a
just
playground.
DM you. I don't have to meet you at the playground. So
Mona and I were
It
super
takes a
open
like.
with each other with regards to social media. I have his phone, he has my phone. There are times when I'll be like, let me just do that post for you, and I'll grab his phone, and or he'll say, can I use your phone to phone so and so. We are open about that. I think that phones and privacy and that whole topic is super, 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 super dangerous. I just believe in transparency because you've got nothing to hide, and it's cool. Where it comes to speaking to other people, that's the other thing, though. That's when the relationship aspect's got to be strong, because if I believe that this is my friend, and I have been in the circumstance where sometimes maybe Morning's ex will message, and I'm actually okay with it, because it's like he'll be like, oh, look here, she's looking for this, and oh, that's nice, cool, yeah, no, whatever. But it's when you maybe start not telling
Yeah.
that something's popped up, that
is a problem.
it creeps inside you, like, and it'll come out.
Like withholding information
Yeah.
is allowed.
withholding information.
So long as you're transparent, open, I think it's cool.
So me and Xavier had a conversation, and he asked me, did my ex ever want to be in my like go through my
DMs.
phone?
Oh, yeah.
Go through my phone, and did I have like a code on it? I'm like, yeah, I had a code on it. And he's like, did he want? I was like, no, yes, he wanted to, but he was never able to go in. And it's like, but like, what was that? I was like, no, he had a reason to want to see what was there. You know, he looks at me, he's like, the honesty.
Thanks, wife. Thanks.
The honesty.
Yeah.
But we have that open relationship. There's times when Xavier's phone was flat, or, you know, then he'll take my phone and he'll go.
Yeah.
There was times where our iClouds were linked.
Look, we're doing life together, right?
We're doing
Yeah.
it together. There's nothing
we're
to hide.
We're not in a relationship.
But let's be honest, whether you're saying that everybody is not in that boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
If everybody was in that boat, I can guarantee you there wouldn't be divorced people today because of
Yes.
social media. So I'm trying to bring the aspect across as well, that there is couples that I don't know your password, I don't know who you're chatting to, I don't know these kind of things, or maybe I do have the access, but I'm not comfortable that you're following this person. I'm not comfortable that you like a picture of a G-string, and because let's be honest, we always have the talks where if it's Kim Kardashian, you say it's okay, he's never going to meet her.
Yeah.
But if it's the girl that's you were in school with, it's now at home. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You can't say, he's never going to meet her.
Yeah.
There's
But-
that aspect
like
as
that.
well.
My thing is this, you know what your husband likes, right? I know what my husband's preferences are because he's my husband. So if he's on social media and he's liking, let's say the picture is, those pictures the girls post and they have like a scripture
The
there.
Proverbs
but the whole
Proverbs 31.
it happens.
you won, and it's like, oh.
It happens. But the inner G-string there.
Proverbs 13.
Right? So I know what he likes. I will be asking him, why are you liking it? What is the purpose? There will be a conversation. And you can't negate that there are people who aren't emotionally strong enough for certain things. Like for me, we have this conversation all the time. I mean, I'm friends with his exes, that kind of thing, because it's his past, that's how I view it. It's his past, it's what made him who he is and all of that kind of thing. But not everybody is there. There's some people that just don't want, you had a past with that person, please, I'd appreciate it. I'd feel more comfortable if you cut ties completely.
Or, Anks,
yeah.
because that's also one of the topics, the friends things.
Yeah.
Or there's also the aspect of you okay with it, let's say we're married,
Yes.
but I'm not okay with it.
Yes.
Where is the boundary in terms of, I don't care, you can speak to your ex, and then I feel like I care.
No, but that's wrong. You guys must come to an agreement. Because if you're not comfortable, I mean, my best friend got married without me knowing. Like, he just gave me the invite a week before and said, look. And remember, we were extremely tight. This day we don't speak anymore. His wife had a problem with me. And I could understand because I am a female and we were that good of friends. And he's like, no, but you're my best friend. She can't say. I'm like, no. You didn't allow us to become friends because it will be my responsibility to become friends with the wife.
Right.
Not with,
Yeah.
I can't stay best friends because she needs to be your best friend now. She needs to be on that level.
Take that role.
And I cut myself completely from the relationship. This is not my place. The man is married to another woman who must be his best friend. So I think it's important that you guys must. I mean, I'm friends with Xavier's ex because there's an agreement, but they're not chatting. He's chatting to her husband. I'm her friend. We're chatting. There's boundaries, and they must be you must both be comfortable. If one's not comfortable,
But I'm
you must
also,
cut it off.
I always say, because we've had this conversation before, as much as also like one is comfortable, you don't know what the other person is thinking. So I can even use a personal example. Ashley also had this friend, right? This friend.
Oh, the fire is coming.
Friend.
You know, really see the steam there.
I can even say with my ex-relationship, it was the friend. The second we broke up, the friend was the girlfriend. So I
Was more than friends.
I honestly believe that one person is keeping the relationship for other reasons, and that's my
They're on the
belief,
bench.
because if
Yeah.
we were together, we were together. What are we still doing together? Because our relationship was a lovable relationship. Then there's this point where, bringing this story across now with the Ashley thing, the friend. It's my best friend. We grew up. We were at school together. Next thing you know, the friend is asking, "Why don't you like a picture when I'm alone in the picture and you're not liking pics?" So that then tells you that friend is thinking something else. The friend is
There's
thinking,
boundaries.
do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So as much as you also don't be gullible and stupid to just believe that
My thing is, if they
friends
can be
is
friends
friends.
with me, I'm cool with that, because I actually
And they
am
can't
like,
be
I have
friends
a good
with-
understanding or relationship with one or two of my past relationships. Again, I'm not going to go knock on their door and say, can I come visit? But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if we hang out, and I'll say, yeah, come Samuel, like, this is so-and-so, whatever, like, I'm open.
And if
He's
your
not the
husband's
same with
present,
me.
yeah.
Yes.
You
If,
see.
if the friendship
There's a
cannot
boundary.
be included in your marriage, because
Yeah.
this is the person
And
you're
don't
in
go
life with,
complain to that person now
About what's
your
happening.
husband.
Look, marriage 101, you don't complain to anyone about your husband. You complain to your husband
Okay, but
about your husband.
my work now, we don't live isolated.
That's true, but this is
There's a difference in complaining. There's a way.
Safe spaces, safe spaces.
me,
We have them, but they are few. There are those three people.
For me personally, like
Do Anka's favorite, asking for a friend.
I haven't done that in a while. I should bring my friend back here. For me personally, this is my personal conviction and just a principle I apply from the beginning of my marriage. No one. I don't complain to anyone about my husband. I complain to my husband about my husband. And then to counseling.
That's healthy.
Then we go to counseling, and we have one counselor. So I'm very conscious about the fact that if you have too many voices,
Yes.
too many
Yeah.
voices,
Yeah.
too many cooks,
many
spoil
cooks
the
in the
broth.
room.
So it doesn't work. Even my parents, like, there's certain things my mother's pro Xavier. She's pro Xavier, all that. But it's not because I didn't go and complain to her whatnot. The 4 months into my marriage, I said to my mother, "Mommy, I'm coming home. This married life is not for me. I don't want it." And she asked me, "Is this man smacking you around?" I said, "No. Why would you ask me that?" And she put the phone down, because you chose this life. You need to work through it. And very early on, we learned you don't go to anywhere, because
Yes.
those people end up being still upset with
And
you, and
using
you
that
guys are okay.
information.
Especially
Yeah.
with your in-law, with your actual parents. You
Yeah.
can't complain to your parents or your brother or your sister. You remember there's
Yeah.
that touches me now, if you're going to say that, And tomorrow, not even tomorrow, by 4 o'clock, you guys are in love, kissing on the couch, and then we short-circuiting.
Like,
And
what's going on here? This man shouldn't
and now
be
you're
here.
wondering why your parents is cold, and you're wondering all those
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
it's-
things.
But that's
Rubber-
also a very dangerous place to be in, because now you're protecting your partner's reputation,
It's also
and
very
you're very
dangerous.
unhappy.
But that is
And
why.
everyone's like, "Oh, I thought you guys look so in
I read
love."
a trauma. Sorry, babes. I read a trauma response to her that said, as children, when we're putting up with in abusive homes, some of the responses is, "Don't talk out of the house. Don't talk out of
Yes.
the house." When
Yeah.
you're actually in a place of needing help, needing guidance, needing to talk. I know your belief system on the whole "don't talk out of a marriage" thing, but I mean, I got my people, and I gotta have those people, because when I didn't, I was living in Cape Town. Remember? Well, I say remember like you knew, but I lived in Cape Town. It was a new space for me, so my circumstances are a bit different. It was my hubby, it was my hubby's family, it was my hubby's friends, it was my hubby's life, and I'm integrating into his world. So my circle went from whoo to whoo, and
Yeah.
I made a few mistakes. big mistakes of people who I thought I could trust. And it just went right out there and it became a boom. But saying that, I will not stop sharing my story if it means that it's going to pull me out of wherever I'm at. Not just about marriage, anything. And I will not also stop story to keep you safe and to make sure your reputation doesn't go down the drain. I'm not saying share the story publicly or with every Tom, Dick and Harry. I'm saying you're a close friend, you're a counselor, you're my pastor, whoever it is that like I want help. And at the end of the day, I might do what I need to do to get the help because the help is important to me.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. We know when something becomes toxic. We know that this man is smacking me around at home, but I'm trying to. That's just toxic. But there's certain things that if you love this person, the person loves you, you guys are both ready to get into the ring to fight this out so that you guys can be stronger, right? It's important to have proper healthy structures. I came out of the same situation. I literally left everything in a complete different country and came to a place that I knew absolutely nobody. I couldn't just phone because it was cross-border rates and all of that kind of. And I didn't have a phone for the first year. And I knew I did that. My phone was stolen 2 days before we were married. We were robbed in the house, right? So we were robbed in the house. So I knew why he did that because he probably knew this one would be calling the whole time and complaining or text messaging the whole time. So it was important to find a healthy place to say, okay, fine, okay, this is our counselor. Do we trust him? Yes, we trust him. And what has he done? It's been 8 years. It's been healthy. And we go every now and again for counseling. And it could be the most trivial thing. So it's important to speak up. But you do get people that is not for you.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And then you will crash the car and then...
I honestly feel that there is, like we say, there's boundaries and stuff. But there is certain things you can't keep in your... Especially if there's an irritating sound on the camera.
Can we ask your followers for what some of their boundaries are?
Yeah, if you can, anybody on the thing, let us know what is your boundaries. But what I want to say, like for example, we were saying, depending what it is, if you guys are just fighting about the dishes and the socks and whatnot, you're not going to go to every single person and say, then this thing can't, because there's some people that honestly do that. I know somebody that actually goes live every time they have a fight, and it's disrespectful. And when you then see them afterwards being happy, you question like, is this for Instagram? Is it for? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
It's toxic, yeah.
But then there's also the point of, if someone is hitting you, as a woman, you must be able to go to your parents. If not, because I feel like that is also something wrong in terms of don't go tell your parents. I feel like if I'm being abused, my circle is going to stand up for me, because if you tell his family, they're not going to do anything about it. But I'm saying if it's a continuous kind of a thing,
if it's abuse,
and then it's too late and we want to do a whole post for you and say we didn't know. But we also need the ability to learn when to speak up and how to do it. The reason why I'm saying when and how is people do need to know this person is treating me ill, like you said, because you start thinking yourself, and before you know it, you have no friends, I have no, because I have nobody to speak to, I have this, I have that, and not everybody, counseling, yes, counseling is important, but when your marriage is in a rocky place sometimes, one of the partners do not want to go for the counseling, especially if they feel like they are the problem. They don't want to get to the point where I'm the problem. I don't need somebody to tell me, because remember, that's personalities as well. Going back to the equally yoked thing, as much as we say counseling, it's easy to counsel for my own mental health. But the minute you become two people, it's not that easy to say, okay, or you can... I've been in a counseling session where me and Ashley wasn't in a good space, and he just said, to get it over and done with. So there's also no point. Okay, we did sort it out afterwards because it was like a 3-month counseling session, but you then also get those people that do the just to get it over and done with. And there's that aspect as well.
And in my 6.5 years roughly of marriage, we've only had counseling pre-marriage, and then 2 or 3 times virtually over the phone with one pastor somewhere in the middle, like I think about 2 years ago or something like that, a year and a half ago, I can't remember, but that was the only time we actually ever did it. And I can tell you it happened because I was on that pastor's case, and I was the one arranging it. Like, my husband's like all good for it, but he's not going to get up and go and get it done. He's not been raised to speak to people or to have counseling. When we've spoken about the conversation of family counseling, it's like, Jesus, take the
Right.
But
wheel.
also the
Yeah, like,
counselors-
there's nothing that's that
There's also
long.
the financial side of the counseling
Oh,
as
yes.
And
well.
my husband brought it
And
up too. No, not now, man. We don't.
if you can
not
say the
now.
church, but let's
I'm
be
like,
honest, some churches counselors, you sometimes also like,
I must say we're privileged in that, because also if it's an environment where the counselor is biased, and then you also have a trouble. You're in trouble because
like
then
now
you're
we're
not-
going to your pastor's
yeah,
counsel.
it's not, you need to go to someone that you really trust, that you know. And like for me personally, maybe I'm just spoiled, but counseling should be free.
It really should.
Like, you know, not everybody knows how to navigate certain things. The reason being is we're different personalities, we're different people. Yes, there are people that don't want to get
And
into the
listen,
ring.
asking for a friend, send some of those onto your page, please. The free counseling services that you know of. Share them, please.
I shall share because
Share them for your followers.
I shall share because I think it's because for me it's like I've said this before, it's like a doctor's checkup. You must go for that, bearing in mind that some people still have that. I know that I did grow up in a family where counseling is taboo. How is the people supposed to know? The people shouldn't know my personal business and all of that type of stuff. But me and Xavier, we're here for it. You put one foot wrong, I am gonna go for counseling.
But that's also where I feel like as an individual, it's so important to be in touch with yourself, because there's so many instances where you just blindly follow what you were taught as a child, and then you don't realize that this is wrong. And then you're like forcing these incorrect beliefs on this partner or whatever it is.
Indoctrination at its finest.
Yeah. And then
It's like the story of the leg of lamb. It's like my mother always cut off the end, and you're like,
Yeah,
so you
I
call your
always say
mother,
that.
yeah, you call your mother. Your mother's like, no, I just cut it off because the pot wasn't big enough.
oh wow, and that time we're
Why do
fighting
you do
about
it?
the
Yeah.
I asked my granny,
Ask
why, and she said, you must do it like this, man, you know, with the dough, and you must. And now, why, Ma? No, because Oma did it like this. Oh.
And it just goes from generation to generation. Exactly. I make pap with the blender. Oma didn't make pap with the blender.
I still need to understand this concept, guys.
So
I have
I
so
wanted
many
to
questions.
ask Lorraine sent a question, right? Asking, do you go to bed at the same time? And do you have to go to bed at the same time as a married couple? What's your thoughts on that, guys?
Oh, I think that's bonding.
In a
But if
perfect
you're a
world.
night owl and your partner is not a night owl, like,
Or your partner falls asleep, right? The minute they hit their head on the pillow?
So if we are, I mean, in the beginning it was like, you going, I'm going. Where you going? I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Hey, what? Wait,
wait, don't they just get up? You're like, where you
like
go?
you just with that person. But I mean, over time, I'm like, you know what? Now that there's kids, right? Can you put the kids to bed? I'm gonna stay up and I'm gonna have a cup of coffee, or I'm gonna put a stick on, or something. It gets to that where you really start seeking your free time if you don't have it in the day. It depends, but for me, I'm like, if he goes to bed, I'm sometimes like, yeah, you go, you do you, boo boo. And I'm thinking, like, finally, I can now scroll.
I can Netflix.
to my heart's content, and I can,
And there's no one there tapping on you.
no.
Or while you're watching a video, they're like,
Now I'm that clean
Who's that?
person.
And also, can I say, it's pretty awkward when you sometimes go to the bed the same time every day. Then you put the
No,
and you
you-
start looking at each other.
Going to bed same time every day means
Yeah,
like I need
it's
to...
like I'm on a routine schedule work now. No, buddy, I need rest.
There should be balance. There are times when I'm like, baby, I'm going to bed, and he's like, yeah, Then he'll either fall asleep downstairs because he works.
Now your husband works online and digitally,
Yes.
and he uses those hours at night.
Yes.
Now mine too, he's a musician, so he travels and he's gigs and
So
stuff.
those are his times.
Yeah, it's
So
normal.
then for me it's like, so I go to bed early, so it's like, because like 8 o'clock I'm like, go on, But I would like that. So it's a topic of conversation. I'm like, it's just your laptop. He's like, yeah, it's my work. So what puts the bread on the table.
Is that too? But then also, guys, in the week, I was telling Anka, Ashley works also like until 2 o'clock, and then I'll like wake up
Editing,
4 o'clock and stuff like that. Here, this guy, 2 o'clock in the morning, babe, is there still curry and rice? So now,
World
I'm in
War
a
III is
deep
at hand.
sleep. I just went to the room quickly because Scarlett wanted some water. That did not mean, okay, what do you want? But that also becomes, it goes on
Look,
that.
if you were in
are
a
you
small
awake?
space, if you were in a small space, But going downstairs and the whole that's World War III at hand, guys.
No,
They
for
must
me,
know.
I just feel it was an issue of, okay, I understand you work until those hours, but then
Let's be
let's be
considerate of one
respectful to each other's sleep when we do sleep. Because I fully respect my husband. When he sleeps, eh?
Like a
The
king.
kids will not go anywhere close. You sleep. I just wish for moms it was, the same thing, but every 5 seconds all you feel is,
Oh no! At
no,
least
like-
you have that. I don't have that, but I have slamming doors and opening up cupboards and
no.
and putting on the kettle into the thing.
Well, I just get
And,
headphones.
They have the headphones. Xavier walks around with his headphones. I'm like, do you have to be so loud? I sleep
That's
deep.
also another thing.
Why am I
Communication- A communication issue, though. These guys always have headphones on or earphones or whatever it's called,
Maybe
and
it's
then
the nature of their
you're
work.
speaking, and then you're wondering my guy not answering, and then it's like, hello. Then you say it, and now you rip yourself off, but the guy
You
didn't hear
ignoring me.
anything.
Why you? I told you 5 times and you ignored. I didn't. What are you talking about? And you didn't say
That time I
anything.
never heard anything that you were saying.
Yeah.
So Lorraine is saying counseling should be done from dating stages, and then they're saying, yeah, that is
I
right
agree.
before marriage. I do agree, but like I go back to my point, if you're not going to be honest in counseling, there is
Yeah.
no point.
And you
in
have to
doing
want to do,
counseling.
like, you have to want to be
because
there.
even pre-marriage counseling in the church environment, if I'm going to just sit there and lie what I want you to think about me, it's not going to be effective in any way.
Okay, so I have a question. What do they cover in pre-marriage counseling? Is it
They cover. Well, they're supposed to. Not everyone, but they're supposed to
Yeah, it
cover.
depends on the person.
Depends
you're
on
going
the
to.
person. So the curriculum we did. Now we also do counseling for couples. So the curriculum that we usually do deals with your past.
Okay.
Things, your childhood.
Oh, so they ask like real.
we go in
stuff.
depth,
Okay.
and the same with the partner. You answer a whole questionnaire, and we look
Sorry, I'm watching this and it only showed 80's reaction now.
a whole questionnaire, and then we look at the red lights in terms of your childhood. Was there trauma? How is that correlating? Yeah. Then we look at your family life now with your parents,
Okay.
and how that's going to relate to your partner and vice versa. And what are your expectations? So now then we deal with you expecting that, he's expecting that. It's not aligning. How are we going to find common ground?
Okay.
It's how it's supposed to be done. But not everybody
Some people
does
also after counseling decide that they're not going to do it.
it. Yeah.
There's a
Because
few
that makes them
people-
realize
it
that they're
makes
not
them-
ready.
Because you need
Can
to
I
go
be
back.
honest
You
and
need
say
to
that was
unpack
me?
things.
Yeah, was that you?
That was really me. I mean, we looked at the circumstances and I was like, oh no, oh, I see red flags. Oh, I'm scared. And I went to my pastor, and don't worry, guys, my husband is not hearing this for the first time. I went to my pastor, I'm like, hey, Kiki, worry, man, And he, bless his soul, he's late now, but I love him so much that I listened. I think, like you said, you take it all in and you're like, okay, I love this guy, I want it, that.
Yeah.
And he's like, when you get married, right now your husband is not in covenant with you. He is in covenant with his mother and his father and his home. That is his home. He is not allowed to stand up for you now. He's not allowed to say no. He's like, there are ways that he does this. So he says, okay, Morning, this is how you say it. Mum, it really hurts my feelings when you do this to Adi, or dad, or cousin, or boss, or whoever it is. This is the way we speak. Okay, cool. That is nice. But there comes a time you have to say, okay, no, stop, enough. Now, he said that's going to only happen.
People say and speak about that makes you think that once this wedding happens, like this,
Yes.
And
all
it
these
does not
changes.
happen.
Guys-
It's not a magic wand that
Guys,
you.
yes.
That's my issue
I'm
with
glad
movies.
I did. Can I
My
just
issue with movies.
Guys, let me just say, marriage does not
I see
take
bad
marriage